Hello, first Woodcutts virtual camp. I've got a foraging video for you. Now it sounds unusual because I'm stuck in the garden, but what we're going to do is we're going to go around and I've got 6 plants to show you. I'm going to show you in a series of 6 videos. Now when you're foraging you need to be really careful. You never pick anything really close to a track because a dog might weed on it. And you should never pick anything and eat it if you don't know what it is. You need to be really sure. Learn all the poisonous plants first if you can. Very important. Anyway, here we go. Warning. You may be allergic to things. Try a little bit. If you don't have an allergy, then you can eat more. Okay, so what we have here is hawthorn. Now, hawthorn has red berries in the autumn and these beautiful white flowers at this time of the year. Sometimes it's called the Mayflower, or May, some people call it. Lots of folk history for this tree. Often called the fairy tree or Joseph's rod, because Joseph Arimathea is meant to bring it over. There's one that grows meant to flower all year round, and even at Christmas near Glastonbury. Okay, so there are bits of it that you can use. Almost all of it's edible. The leaves aren't particularly nice at this time of the year. They're starting to get a little bit woody, but there are the fresh leaves on the very tip. You see that one there? The very tip of the leaf, and that bit there, you can pinch that out and put it on salads. It's actually quite nice. Okay, I'm going to pop that in my mouth and eat it. Yum. Bit bitter, but so you don't want too much of it on your salad, but it's good. You can also use the flowers as a garnish. Never take them into your house though, meant to be bad luck. In this autumn, the seeds on this, the beautiful red berries that the birds love, this will be really heavy with them. They can be pulped down, the seeds can be seeds taken out of the middle, and the pulp can be made into a beautiful jelly, made into jams and jellies, just like any other berry. And you can eat them straight off. Okay, that's hawthorn. Garden foraging video 2. Stinging nettle. Now stinging nettle is really useful in many different ways. In June is an ideal time to pick the long stems and make into cordage. So you can actually get the stems, you snap them open, you can peel off the inner pith, and then inside you'll find you'll be left over with a string, like a thread, and you leave those to dry, then wet them, and you can make a thread out of them. Quite a process. But they're also, and a lot of people don't know this, really, really nutritious. And people don't really think about eating stinging nettles. In Italy, they actually make pasta and things out of it. It's quite useful. Now, the picking of stinging nettles, what you have to do is you have to kind of grasp the nettle. You go like that, yeah? You pinch it between your fingers. The top leaves are the best ones to eat. You should only really eat them when they're fresh. And then those can be wilted down in water or over a flame to kill all the stinging furs on it. Or, if you're feeling rather brave, you can just roll them up into a little ball like that. Make sure everything's all crushed on it so it's not going to sting the inside of your mouth. Pop it in and eat it. Really high in protein, about 10%. Really high in potassium. Excellent green vegetable. Okay, excellent. Hello, next plant, fat hen. Called gooseweed, and also dirty dick as well, which is a funny name. This plant is edible again. It's actually a real pain for farmers. They really don't like it growing in their crops. The seeds are really big and they contaminate grain sometimes. The seeds can be ground up to make a bread, or you can just add them to breads. All the green bits are edible, and they're really a salad leaf. But they can also be wilted down or cooked to make and eaten like spinach. Next to it here there's a cheeky little strawberry sitting there. Always good to look out for those. They grow on wood banks in woods, and they've got tiny. And obviously, a few weeks' time, maybe a month's time, they'll have lovely little tiny little berries on them, and they do grow in the wild. They're worth looking for, those ones, because the leaves are really distinctive and easy to spot. Okay. Okay, so plant number 4. I'm going to introduce you to pendulous sedge. A pendulous sedge is a woodland indicator. It grows in woodlands normally. For some reason we got some growing in my garden. Probably came in my turnips, my trousers. This fella here is really useful in some ways. I mean, I love to take him out like that, pull it out really gently and firmly, and then eat that little white bit at the end. Quite nice. But you're not going to get much nutrition from that. The main thing about this plant is really the seeds. And this hasn't actually ripened yet, but when these ripen, it produces a huge number of these little black seeds, which are great to add to doughs, so you can eat them. And they're really nutritious. Okay. So we all know the dandelion. This is plant number 6. So we all know the dandelion, and what we have here is the dandelion flower, which is very familiar, and then you obviously have the dandelion clocks, which look like this. That's one that's gone over, but it's a little ball of little seeds, and you blow it, and then they all go away. And you're meant to, the number of times it takes to blow the seeds off is how long it's going to take you to get your wife. Now, the seeds, the whole plant is edible. Okay, the roots used to be ground up during the war to make a type of coffee when they're dried. The leaves can be eaten. They tend to be a little bit bitter, but that bitterness goes if you cook them. Sometimes they add them to salads. It's very, you often get it in French salads, but you don't need to have too much of it in there, and they only really want the young leaves. That's about it really, but the thing I wanted to show you is something I found the other day, is if you get the stem and cut a little V in the top, like that, you can make it do this. Oh, come on. I've got it going.
Go.
Right, so the next plant, plant number 6, is plantain. Now there are 2 different types of plantain. It's this one here, okay? The one behind it is pulmonaria. This is plantain, and plantain was used as a medicine to treat wounds. So you put it in a wound as a poultice, and the roots could be ground up for sore throats. But the main thing I want to tell you about this is actually the whole plant is edible. So the leaves here, the broadleaf ones, are really quite good in salads when they're young. This one's not particularly young, it's getting a bit ropey. They tend to grow in wasteland and in cracks and crevices and where the grasses lie. They have a little spike on them with a flower with lovely white little flowers on it, tiny little ones, and then it turns brown, and it's about that long when it's done. You'll be quite familiar with them when they're fully ripe. Now those seeds can be added to breads and things as an additive. So all of this can be eaten. When they get tough like this, you can still eat them, but you have to cook them first. Okay, and if you step back a little bit, Claire, please. On the lawn here, we actually have another type of plantain called ribwort plantain. The ribwort plantain, Plantago lanceolata, has a much smaller head, and that's just gone over the flower, and it's starting to go to seed. You can see that. But these seeds here are much more nutritious. I don't tend to eat the leaves. I find them a little bit more bitter than the ones on than broadleaf ones, so I don't tend to eat them. But they are probably more nutritious. That's ribwort plantain. Okay, fantastic.